Who are the so-called Facebook fact-checkers? Well, turns out they're nothing more than propagandists who are being funded in many cases by the very people that are being fact-checked by journalists. What do I mean by that? How about this name, Bill Gates? Turns out he has a web of influence and financial backing of these so-called fact-checking organizations, which, as it turns out, according to the Columbia Journalism Review, have been whitewashing his history. Gates himself has spent hundreds of millions of dollars in order to completely control the narrative from those organizations. From the Columbia Journalism Review just recently, quote, "I recently examined nearly 20,000 charitable grants the Gates Foundation had made through the end of June and found more than $250 million going toward journalism."
The community that is the most fierce, the most outspoken, the most awake is the African community. They're not playing. They've been there. They've seen it. They protest every single day, and they are warning each other like crazy because they understand that they have been used through generations as test subjects.
CJR notes that it found 16 examples of Africa Check examining media claims related to Gates, and that its body of work overwhelmingly supports or defends Bill and Melinda Gates and their foundation, which has spent billions of dollars on development efforts in Africa. Dr. David Martin is one of the main voices in that piece. He has been called a liar by these fact checkers, a conspiracy theorist, and someone who is peddling misinformation to the masses. And yet, for his part, Dr. David Martin says he has all of the source information available from the statements he has made. The fact checkers, on the other hand, as he points out, never use source information. Listen.
My organization has worked for over 2 decades with law enforcement, with international and domestic intelligence and criminal intelligence operations. And what is funny is we have a thing called the FBI chain of custody with respect to our data. What that means, Ben, is that we have to make sure that we can show that information that we're relying on is actually the original document or a facsimile of the original document. We have to make sure that we can show that it was obtained legally, meaning we didn't hack or crack or in any way use a technology to penetrate firewalls or do anything else. So we have a very high standard when it comes to what we call source documentation, and it happens to be a law enforcement standard for good reason, because our information has been and continues to be used for law enforcement operations. And as a result, my definition of source documentation is something that comes out of law enforcement. It doesn't come out of kind of this postmodern media echo chamber, which once again is opinion confirmation, a confirmation bias established by headlines, reinforced by headlines, rather than looking at facts. And so this is a very important topic for us to address, which is every single point specifically that I make within the entirety of Plandemic 2, every point has an actual source document. Not some conjecture, not a media report, actual source documentation, including funding records, including NIH grants, including patent applications, including appeals made by patent applicants when their patents were rejected by the United States Patent Office. All of those documents are source documents.
And by the way, we did invite the Poynter Institute, USA Today, and PolitiFact. We have invited reporters from all of those organizations, or I should say fact checkers from all those organizations, to have a one-on-one debate with Dr. David Martin. We would stream it live and I would moderate it in order for them to provide their source information that calls him a liar and claims that he is engaging in misinformation. They have declined. Each one of them has said no, they're either too busy or not interested. We're not really surprised. Having said all of that, it is important to know that Children's Health Defense, the organization run by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has now filed a RICO lawsuit against Facebook and its fact checkers, claiming that they are engaged in a conspiracy and racketeering